What's up, guys, and welcome to the Poker Rajas podcast. My name is Richard, and today we have with us my first international guest. Super proud of this. He is CEO of Global Poker League, and as you know, Global Poker League is going to be in India very soon. He also is CEO of Mediarex Entertainment, which operates Global Poker Index in Global Hendon Mob, and he's a real big deal. And we have him on the podcast with us to share everything about the GPL India. So please welcome Alex Dreyfus. What's up, Alex?
Hi, Richard. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you for the invitation. That's my actually first podcast and first interview in India for on the video. So very happy to do it.
Super excited to have you. You recently came to India, so why don't we start there? How was your trip been in India? How was your experience?
I spent a week last week. Actually, spent 2 days in Delhi and 4 days in Mumbai. It was my first time. Funny enough, India was probably the last country that I was due to visit, and I never done it before. Was fascinating in a way that obviously the country is beautiful, but I learned a lot, met a lot of leaders and a lot of people in the gaming industry, media industry, sports industry, some players as well. So for me, it was really like a trip or a journey to learn about India as a landscape and see how GPL can fit into that.
That's amazing, and I mean, we'll obviously get to talk about GPL in detail, and obviously we'll want to know your vision with GPL. But why don't we why don't we talk a little bit about you, because so I'm sort of a fanboy right here, and I've been following you for a couple of years, and so I know for a fact that you have a very inspiring story. You started very early, you took some risks, and you are where you are because you took those bold moves in your career and in your life. Why don't you tell us how it all started, and then obviously how you transitioned into poker and online gaming.
Sure. So I was lucky enough when I was young to have a computer. I mean, I'm gonna go in like 30 years ago or even more, but I had a computer when I was very young, like when I was 6 or something like that, and I learned how to use computer. I became a geek, and that's how I started to really decide that I wanted to work in that space. And in '95 I started to create like a web agency that was eventually sold to a big communication group. Then I did another baby called webcity.com, which was like an online city guide, which eventually got sold to Yelp. And I moved in 2004, so 13 years ago, into the gaming space, not at all, and poker space actually, not at all because of I was a player, because I still don't play poker, but mainly because I saw the opportunity, I will say, and what I like to do is to use my internet and media skill towards something new and innovative. And in 2004, created one of the first online poker room in France. I sold it in 2006, and then created the Chili Poker, which was my last venture, which I sold to a Vegas group in 2012. And since 2012, I naively focused my efforts on something a little bit more ambitious, which is indeed the GPI and the GPL, and that's how it's all started.
So I mean, you're mentioning these names as if they are really small things, but these were like really huge deals. I mean, these were transactions of a really huge dollar amount, and that goes to say that you're super ambitious about what the future holds for you. What I really wanted, or like what I was really intrigued to know, was how did the GPI fit in the grand scheme of things?
So 5 years ago, funny enough, when I sold my company 5 years ago, I got a call from someone about the bankruptcy of GPI in US, which was Epic Poker League at that time. And he told me, Alex, you have 48 hours to make a bid and to send us $100,000 if you want to acquire the GPI. And it took me the weekend to decide if I want to do it or not. And fortunately or unfortunately, I did it. It took more than that to acquire it. But the idea was, having spent at that time 8 or 9 years in the poker space, I realized that the poker space was very fragmented. And if we want to help poker to be more mainstream, if we want to help players to be more legitimate, instead of just winning one tournament once in a while, we wanted to create and develop a ranking that rank players not anymore just because they won one tournament, but because of the regularity of the performance. And that's what GPI is. GPI gives you who are the best players today in every country in the world. We rank 450,000 players, 97 countries. We work with 1,500 organizers. We also acquired the hendonmob.com, which is the foundation actually of GPI, because if you don't have the data and the database to do a ranking, you cannot do a ranking. So we acquired that, we merged that, and today we became this ranking authority where players look at their own scores, rankings, data, result, and everything.
That's fantastic. And this question probably is something that you get asked a lot, but I'm going to ask you anyway, because maybe people in the Indian space might not know a lot about poker leagues or the ones that have existed before. So why don't you tell us how is GPL different from the other leagues? Because there have been a lot of leagues which have come and gone primarily in the US and Europe. How is the GPL different, and why did you think that there is yet a demand and space for something like this in terms of a business?
So there was not really, I mean, the word league is very confusing, and everybody is using the word league to put everything in the same, in the same under the same umbrella. In the past, in US, there was the Epic Poker League, which was like well, actually it was a league, not team-based, individual based. They ran out of money, unfortunately, so they didn't deliver the whole experience that they wanted to do. I do believe that the model was actually right. It was just before the Black Friday, so really the wrong timing for them. Then in Europe there is no league. I mean, there is some amateurs league like in France, in Italy, or in Germany, whatever. But the team-based / city-based leagues, there was nothing. It never happened before. Especially the way we did it. So what we've done in season 1 of GPL is we created a league of 12 cities. So New York, Berlin, Paris, Las Vegas, Hong Kong, Sao Paulo. So these 12 cities, we appointed managers. So we didn't sell the franchise, something we will probably go after. But we own all the franchise and all the team. But we selected the managers, and the manager did a draft. That was a live stream on Twitch as well. And for 9 months, which was a mistake, but for 9 months, we had 180 matches, 400 hours of live content, and we created a real, very long and a bit boring league where the one team won $100,000. Yeah. So the big difference is this is not betting, this is not gambling. Players do not wager their money. Players do not bet any money. We, as a company, as a league, we actually pay as a contractor the players. So each player had a contract and was being paid like any other sport. And if they win the prize, then they have another bonus. But we gave away $300,000, I think, for the year one for the players. And that's the main difference is instead of having players being customer of a casino, players are contractor of a league, meaning that we can create content, we can create format that are much more different and that hopefully appeal more to a public for the long term because of that.
That's awesome, man. That's what I really like about the league, because there isn't much of wagering, and there isn't that much emphasis given on the monetary side of it. Of course, the players have contracts, of course they're paid, and then there is the end goal, which is the main cash prize and the glory of winning the trophy. But it's more about the sport aspect of it, the fact that over such a long span of games, your skill and the Sportify factor comes in, and you have to be really good to win this, and it doesn't come down to a flip or
That
one moment.
that's exactly what we wanted to avoid. Is actually but it's a problem though. But we wanted to avoid that the winner is winning on a flip. So it didn't happen. The team that won GPL season 1 is actually the Montreal National, and they are the one that won the whole. That was on the first of the leaderboard for like 6 months or something like that. So that was really interesting. That's my wife's phone that's ringing. Do you hear the phone ringing or not?
I do. I think you should take it. I think you should take it.
Let me just give me 1 second.
I'm just gonna give a couple of shout outs. There's Amol, who's a friend of the podcast and who always joins us. So thanks for watching, Amol. And Jaswant is in the chat. Thank you, Jaswant, for watching. And he says, "Hi, Alex. Uh, Richie, good to see poker growing in India in every aspect. Hoping to see televised games soon." So, Alex, do we get to see the GPL on television?
Yes. That's almost a no-brainer. Nowadays, the question is, what is television? Is it a linear channel, or is it what we call OTT platform, digital platform? That's still debatable. That will depend a bit of the format that we are working on. In India, we're actually gonna try to do something very different. Not very, but more innovative than what we've done both in China and in the rest of the world. Because since we launched GPL last year, we also launched something more regional. So there is my cat asking to come. So we launched GPL in China, where we have as well 12 teams. And the idea is that the GPL China, GPL India, GPL Brazil, GPL Europe, and GPL US will become a world championship, where Indian team, whoever wins GPL India season 1, will have a chance to compete against the rest of the world.
That's amazing, and you have so much more competition and so much more diversity in terms of the people playing these tournaments, and I find that really interesting. And what I really want people to know is more about the format. Can you give us more details, because I've heard you speak about the how the telecast works when you were doing it on Twitch, and it's really interesting. And would you like to tell us how exactly do you stream this, and for a viewer, what's the experience like?
So last time in the rest of the world, not in China, we did two kind of matches. What we call the online matches, the online arena, and the other one was the studio or the Cube arena. The online arena is a platform that we own. It's an online poker platform that is just dedicated for GPL, where you and me play. And that's fine, we play from home. So you have the players from GPL playing from home. But we ask them to use their webcam. And most importantly, we aggregate on one broadcast the webcams, easy. But what we do is we also show the whole cards in live. So you as a spectator can see all the whole cards the same way you see it in the World Series of Poker or any other live event. You will see it online. And what was very interesting is I will say invented, because that's true, the players were giving their thought about how they were playing. So you and me, we play. I have ace-ace, you have king-king. I'm going to say my way of thinking. I'm going to say, oh, I'm going to play like this, etc. And the spectator can hear in real time the two point of view, knowing the exact drama of the cards. So that was actually very interesting to start. So that was the online arena. And we will have something like that in India for sure. We already set up our caster. We already have our TV studio in India. So that's going to be, I mean, we are ready to go. If we had to start tomorrow morning, we will be able to start tomorrow morning. And then the second format that we did in GPL, which will be different here, is we had the Cube in Las Vegas, which is a stage where players were playing standing up, which is very important for me. Because it's to break and disrupt the way the game is played. And they were playing not on a traditional poker table, but more like on a digital tablet. In in order to be more like an e-sport format, I will say, and as well to have 3 times more cards served, because of course, if you don't have any dealer and you just play online but live, it's much faster. So we created something unique. In India, we don't know yet what's going to be the best format for the live element, but for sure we're going to try to innovate. We're not going to do traditional pure poker, I mean traditional on a poker table with chips and cards, just because that's not who we are. Other people does that, they do it well, so there is no need for us to do the same thing. And at the end, we want to show something more dynamic, and we want to change a bit the image of poker, and to change it we need to change the way it's presented.
I mean, just listening to you talk, I can really understand like how much thought has gone to this whole format and the whole positioning of the show. And I'd like to like really talk about this. So even during the cube format, I remember watching a couple of matches. I think Jungle Man was part of that, and I remember him really going ballistic over a hand, and that was awesome to watch. And then there was another hand when it was an online game, and I remember somebody was tanking for like a really long time.
4 minutes.
That was an interesting. You want to talk about that? That was a really sick hand.
I'm not the poker expert, obviously, so I will not be able to explain it perfectly. But it was Tom Marchese, who is based in Vegas and who is one of the top high roller. And it was what is his name? The guy that won 3 WPT. I know him super well. Anthony Zino. And it was so funny because indeed, Tom Marchese, you see the 2 webcam. You see Marchese that I think is the winning hand or something like that, but he's tanking for 4 minutes, knowing that you have a time bank. So Anthony thinks that he's actually disconnected or whatever, and you hear Anthony saying, "What the fuck is happening? But what's going on?" He's talking alone because we as the league, we cannot really say anything. We cannot really send him any information. And that was so beautiful. I remember it was the first week or the second week. That was a good moment for us because that was hilarious to watch, an amazing play of poker. And Zino lost the end, even though he was actually ahead of it. But because of the tank, I think that was incredible.
I'm really sorry. That bad research from my part. I should have known what the hand is. But I definitely remember for a fact that the guy tanking, and he's talking about the fact that, you know what, I'm gonna tank, I'm gonna bluff, and this guy's gonna fold because there's no way he can call me. And then he goes on to really tank for 4 minutes. I don't remember, 4 minutes, and then shoves. And the other guy's like, this guy has to have a hand. He's been tanking 4 minutes. Yeah. It was such a hilarious moment. It was, that aspect of GPL really excites me. The fact that it's interactive. The fact that as a viewer, I can actually watch what the pro is thinking, and at the same time, we can see that the pros can be wrong, and that they're vulnerable too, and that connect is great, and which I love about the format. So moving on, wanted to talk to you about why did you choose the Indian and Chinese markets to begin with, because they aren't as developed as the rest of the world.
So it is because they are not developed as the rest of the world that it makes sense, for a few reasons. China is actually is booming in terms of poker, much more than India, like much more. There is a lot of poker application. Alibaba, Tencent, everybody is into poker right now. Even though, like India, gambling is illegal, which give actually more chance to poker to exist in a way. So for us, China, we also have Chinese investors. So that was making sense to be the first regional, let's say, league that we launch. India is a complete different animal. I like to say, and I mean it, India is probably the smallest poker market in the world right now, probably like $30-40 million market in terms of online poker. To give you an idea, France, which is 60 million people, is $300 million. So the online poker market in India is very small. And funny enough, despite that, there is 2 one till now and the second one in a couple of weeks, but there is 2 leagues as well. It was a big question mark for us if we should go into India, because there was already some local competition, but because our format is so different, because our approach is so different, for me, the other initiative, at least for now, I'm pretty sure it's going to change, but at least for now, are more like a cup. They're not leagues, they're more cup. Like it's a tournament of 3 days, 2 days. It's just like a poker tournament per team. It's a high roller poker tournament by team. So that's not really a league per se. So we feel confident that our approach, where our job is about creating content, is much more. I don't know if it's much more, but at least it's legitimate. We also heard from poker stars publicly that they want to invest into India. They are supposedly going to go into India. So I know that we all heard that for the last 3 years. I understand that it's a little bit more true now than the last 2-3 years. So if Stars is investing in India, it means that the game is going to grow because they're going to spend marketing dollars. So it's the right time for us to be there at the beginning. It's a bit more like a long play because we are losing money and we will lose money, but it makes more sense.
That's fantastic, and the fact that you're trying to Sportify poker, and there is no money involved actually is one of your greatest strengths, especially in India, in a market which is not grown, nascent, at best, and but the room for growth is endless, and so probably you will be part or the reason for the poker boom, which is great for everyone in India or everyone who aspires to play poker. But talking about that, what's your vision, with GPL as a whole? Because I mean, you've been very upfront about the fact that you're not gonna sell franchises for the first couple of years and try to really solidify the structure of GPL first, and then look at monetizing it, and really going after the money. So what's your long-term vision as far as GPL as a whole is concerned?
So I mean, when we announced GPL India, we literally received thousands, not millions, but thousands of call, email, or friends of friends asking, hey, can I buy the franchise, etc. So for us, selling for $50,000, $100,000, the 6 cities would have been done like this. But so what? You sell this, and then that becomes like a poker tournament, and then every year you need to convince these guys to put money again, because the reality is, if you want to have a league sustainable, you need to have an audience. It's a bit the egg and the chicken, but you need to have the league in place. You need to have an audience. You need to have distribution. You need to have sponsors. I mean, a league that will ask money every year from his owners does not work. And that's what happened in many of the Indian leagues, and not poker related. I'm talking about any other sports. I was talking to a big executive in the sports marketing industry in India, and they were telling me that the IPL owners, out of the, I don't remember how many there is, 20 or something like that. Not 20, but like half of them are barely break even, and few of them are making money, and still a lot of them are losing money. Kabaddi, it's more or less break even, but all the badminton and all the other stuff, they are losing money. Even the ISL, as a soccer or football, is losing money. So it's tough to say, but we have to be pragmatic. I mean, how can we expect poker to become a content property where sponsors jump in while it doesn't exist yet as a mainstream product? So for us, the bet is more that we have to sit tight for the next 2 to 3 years. We need to develop content. And then if we are lucky, and if we do well our job, it will worth something either for owners, which we may never go, or it will worth something for sponsors, which is the most important, in order to generate revenue out of the audience that we are doing. That's all. I mean, the long-term vision will be to have GPL as a brand to be one of the top 10. I mean, there is 12 significant league right now in India, so let's say one of the top 10 being the number 10 will be fine enough. But one of the top 10 sports property towards the new generation of consumer, meaning 18, 25, 18, 35, mainly digital. We don't need to be on Star Sports. Star Sports reach, when for the cricket, 400 million or 600 million people. But there is no 600 million people that can be ever interested in poker right now. So we rather focus where the audience is. We rather focus where the people that have broadband and who have mobile and can spend $100 per month in whatever consumption. So we see ourselves as a digital sports. And that's why we embrace a bit more esports and digital game rather than traditional chips and cards. Because we also aim to go into other what we call esports, meaning video games. Not now, but at a later stage. So yeah, that's how we see GPL. GPL will have to be eventually GPL, if we do well our job, will have to be in the newspaper every week when we have the season with the result, the scoreboard, and who won. And that's what we want to achieve. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of efforts, but that's what we want to achieve.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I respect that vision. And you've done that across the world, and you've done that with other businesses. So definitely hoping for the best. And I'm personally super excited to watch GPL in India for sure. And this brings me to a very interesting question. That you aren't a poker player. I'm not sure how much poker you play, by the way, but you aren't primarily a poker player, but you are in the poker business for a long time. And how does someone who who's very passionate about computers and technology actually get attracted or interested in the poker business?
I will say maybe by accident. No, not by accident, actually. I played poker as a very casual player with my friends 12 years ago at home, etc. Social poker. But again, I didn't choose to go into the poker space because I was a poker player. I choose to go into poker space or business because I like this game. I love poker, like really. I understand all the mechanism of it. I love the globality of it. I love the potential of it. But again, the head, I'm going to say something silly, but the president of the BCCI or the IPL is not necessarily a cricket player. It's more like a businessman. Well, same for GPL. You don't have to be a poker player to run a poker league. You need to have poker expert, and we have plenty. But myself, I should not be. And that actually, I think it's more healthy to have not me being a poker player, because then I don't think like a poker player, so I can challenge much more what we do. I usually say that poker is a commodity in GPL, meaning that we could have done the same business with ping pong, badminton, or whatever game. We chose poker because it's global. It's one game that is played everywhere in the world the same way, which is very rare actually. And because of its potential, and because as well it is a mind sport, it is a skill game. I usually use that as an example. In China, well, actually that's true in India as well. Sorry, in India, you have one player in the NBA, if I recall, or at least I've seen a documentary yesterday about that. But statistically, for physical reason, Chinese, Indian, almost French, we will never go into US for compete against the NBA, because physically we have different bodies and different roots. In poker, we all have the same brain. We are all born with the same level of brain or size or whatever. So you can expect eventually having the GPL China, GPL India, GPL US, having New York competing against Delhi, competing against Beijing, and creating like a real international competition where all the local community or the nationals are actually very excited about that, because we are all at the same level. So New Delhi can kick the ass of New Yorkers in a sports. And that is something that is actually statistically impossible in any other sports, maybe cricket. But yeah, the idea is for me, not being a poker player is actually a plus, because I see our business not being a poker business, but being a media business. And that's where sometimes, unfortunately, other initiative may gonna be challenged, is because they see that as a poker business, and that should not be. Poker is just, again, a commodity to create content, and that's how we see it.
That's awesome. And the fact that you're more of an entrepreneur than a poker player, gives you that extra edge against the rest of the people, because you're thinking about this as bigger than poker, and in the process, poker is going to grow, and poker in India is going to grow, which is great. You have already signed. All your brand ambassadors for 6 cities, and also your cast, Aditya. How is that selection process been going, and what's been your interactions with Muskan and with Vikram and
Yeah.
Abhishek and all of them?
So what happened is, like we've done in the other GPL, is we as the league, we select the managers. We call them the managers, but let's call them the captain if you want. And we choose players that are based, of course, on their poker legitimacy. That's one thing. But most importantly, in their ability to understand what we want to achieve. So we took poker players that, Muskan, for example, she's a good poker player. Is she the best poker player? Maybe not, but she's a very good poker player. She's the best female Indian player right now in the ranking. So that's great for the narrative. But most importantly, she's very passionate. She's very motivated. She's very dedicated. And that's what matters. We were able to actually interact and talk a lot and share ideas and give me potentially as well a lot of network opportunities. That was the same with the same with other players. We really wanted to have players that bring something locally, that are all a bit different. Some are the old school player like Kevin in Mumbai, Kevin Shaw, I think, Shah,
Kevin Shah.
or Abhishek as well, who is more like a old school player, and Vikram, who is more like the young, semi-young but still young player, or Adi, which is like a legend in Calcutta. So very different profile. They all bring something into the basket. We had Aditya for the caster. We have Nipun Java as well, with the #1 GPI and as well a WSOP bracelet that's going to be a part of GPL, not as a player, but more as an ambassador, etc. So, building a little bit our team in order to make it happen.
That's awesome. What's going to be the selection process like, and how does this go ahead as far as the formation of teams is concerned and everything else?
So what we've released for now is that we're not going to have teams of 8 players because we believe, and we made this mistake actually in GPL, is we had 12 teams of 6 players, which was 72 players. That was actually too many players, because if you want to create a fan engagement, you want to have time to focus on the players, the characters, and if you have too many players, it's difficult. We're most likely going to have 3 professional players that's going to be selected by the manager by the end of the year, but most likely in January or February. And then we will have some online qualification if we have an online partner, and as well some another innovative format that we are working on. So we will have mainly professional players, but they will be backed up by some qualifiers / grassroots, because we want to do I'm really sorry. We want to do we want to give a chance to someone, to anybody, kind of, to be part of it as well.
That is great, and because I probably can participate then, which is fantastic. Now that you mentioned it, I wanted to go to the fact that you've done GPL already, and there's so many things that may have gone right and may have gone wrong, and again I wanted you to answer what else are things or factors that you sort of learned from in GPL and that you want to implement in India and China.
Well, what we learned is 9 months, 180 matches, and 400 hours is a lot of work and a lot of pain. It's actually a league. It's interesting because the IPL, for example, cricket, is 2 months, if I recall.
Yeah,
And the NFL is probably 3 months and a half in US. So you can see that if you want to have a lot of hype, you need to actually have a condensate or a small so-called season. So in China, we had the 10-week season against what we've done the last time. So we are more looking, in India, it's going to be less than that. It's going to be, let's say, 4-week season, most likely. But we learned that to keep the hype, we need to keep the season short. It needs to be intense, but we need to keep the season short. Then what we learned is we need to have more grassroots players. Because watching the best poker players is great, but people want to be involved somehow. They want to have some interaction. So we're going to have more interactivity as well. You will see. What else? People want to see cards and chips. So that's an issue for us because we are a bit against that. So in China, they are playing traditional poker with card and chips. We'll figure out what we want to do in India. But yeah, we definitely learned a lot, and we're going to try to apply what we've learned and what we want to achieve in a better way, in a more efficient way in India.
Super, because from what I understand is that the format is great, and the way the league is put together is great. It's just that the fact that your league took so long, had so many other factors which sort of piled on to make the whole process a little strenuous, and once you shorten the league size, like for example 10 weeks is great. I think 10 weeks is superb, and if it's lesser than that, it might be even better because there'll be more fan engagement, player engagement, and so on. So that is fantastic. Before I go, yeah, sorry. Please.
No. I was saying it's really we have to create something very different from our competitors. I hate to say that because again, India is the only country where we have competitors. I think PSL is the real competition as coming from that because there is a legitimate poker background, and the other one is a different story. But it's challenging because when I was with the media company last week, so I met all the big, as you can, I don't want to name them, but all the big media groups, and clearly the poker image is always tainted, and it's annoying. And don't take me wrong, I've done that like the last 13 years of my life. So sometimes I ask myself why the fuck do I'm doing this business? Because if I was spending half of the energy to do any other game in the world, it would be fine. But we decided to do poker, and poker is bad in many ways. We have one of the 3 big companies who told me, oh, yeah, Alex, we want to work with you, but can you send us a legal opinion that it's legal, etc.? Yeah, well, it's a free game, so yes, of course it's legal. But still, you have so much efforts that you have to do for this. But at the same time, if we succeed to get and to work with some mainstream or media entertainment group, which we will eventually, it will help poker. We are not an online poker room, so we don't benefit immediately of any poker boom, unfortunately. But we will have to find our way to succeed. We for example, PSL being owned by ADA 52. For them, PSL is just like a content. It's just a tournament in a way to support their online offer. So if they lose money into that, that's fine because it supports the online poker. Match IPL, completely different story, and I don't want to go there because we are in a big disagreement with their vision and their approach. But for us, we have to. This is a marathon. This is not a 100-meter. So we need to ensure that we last long to make it work.
Amazing. I really respect your vision, and I'm super excited to have GPL in the country. Before I go, first of all, congratulations to Muskan Seri. She's just won the award from the president, being one of the 100 first females to start not the conventional career, and she just got honored today, and it's a big moment for
Yeah,
poker.
it's not today. It's later in November, but it was announced today indeed.
It
And
was announced today, yeah.
she
Announced
told
today.
me that a few weeks ago, before actually signing with us, and I was very happy, very proud. And again, the fact that we chose Muskan as our first ambassador was a very strong signal that we wanted to do. That was a choice, because we wanted, as GPL, and I know that in India, in a way, it's a little bit different than in the rest of the world, the way women, the presence of women, etc. So we wanted to send a very strong signal about how women can perform in poker, and that's why that the capital city of the GPL, and the first one we announced, is a woman that is legitimate in her business, in poker, and that as well a woman that understands what is business. And that's very, very happy to work with her. She has been very helpful, and she's a central piece of GPL.
Yeah, she's the best. She's the best. Congratulations, Muskan. Alex, we have a question, but before that, I want to ask you this: What's your vision? What's your vision? Beyond the GPL? Because I know you probably are thinking of what the next big thing is for you. What's your vision with GPL, and what's next? What's after that?
I will answer to the question of Eka as well. I see on after the vision. I mean, right now, I'm not gonna say my life, but my work is GPL, and sometimes as well GPL. Meaning that 100% of our resources in the company are about GPL. GPI as a ranking authority works fine. There is not a lot of things we can do better. There is, of course, but nothing critical, so we keep it as it is. But GPL is the long-term play, the brand, and that we want to develop. So the next steps for us are more countries, and the next step for us are trying to create the content that is actually appealing to watch, because poker is boring. So we need to find a way to make it more appealing, and that's very difficult for us as for everybody else. That's our main stuff, and yeah, that's, as I said, it's
I
GPL,
mean, so
GPL.
we'll take his question. Eka is a friend of the podcast, and his question is: If, as a player, you had a choice between GPL and PSL, with PSL announcing 12 seasons, and this being the start of GPL, which would you go with, and why?
Good question. First, they didn't announce 12 seasons, but 8 seasons. I could announce today 100 years of season if you want. That will be exactly the same commitment that they can do, because nobody is committed to 8 years, obviously. So that's just a marketing, let's say, marketing trick for everybody. But GPL, the plan of GPL is to be here for the next 20 years or so. So if you want me to say that, yeah, GPL in India is going to be for the next 20 years, well, now you can sign for GPL. Now, it's actually annoying. I met with the PSL guys last week in Delhi. We're gonna fight each other. We're gonna hate each other, obviously, in many ways. But there is few things that we have to be careful, because at the end we want the game to grow. So we're gonna try to agree on not having the same dates for the live event, for example, and we're gonna try to avoid poaching players between each other, because there is no need for now. But again, we don't have 12 teams, we have 6 teams. It's gonna be 6 by 3, so sorry, it's gonna be 20 players more or less, 20 pros that's gonna be selected, not 72 or 96 it was for PSL. So if you feel more secure, go to PSL. If you like the risk, go for GPL. That's what I can say. It's different product, different vision. Both of them are going to exist, so we have to live with that, both of us, for at least for now. And that's fine. I mean, what we don't want, both PSL and GPL, is to have players that play in the both league, because it doesn't make sense for fan engagement. So that's fine. But we have completely different approach. And today PSL can guarantee you something which I cannot, because we don't do the selection before end of the year or early next year. So if you are in a need of signing somewhere, sign for PSL. If you want to wait and take a risk and see something different, take GPL.
That answers it perfectly, and I think Eka is more weighted towards taking the risk. He says poker players are people who take risks. Another question by Arpit Jain is what would interest, a very good question. What would interest a non-poker player to actually follow the GPL India?
That's the for now, I believe that our goal is to first reach the poker community, meaning that there is more or less 1 million player. Actually, because you have Rami, and because you have Tin Patty, there is a significant card game audience or card games fans in India. Now the goal is how can we try to increase this so-called 1 million poker fans that may exist in India. Our priority is to target this 1 million and then to grow this 1 million. But first thing first, some people watch kabaddi, some people watch badminton. They don't play badminton. They definitely don't play kabaddi, and they still watch that. Why? Because it's maybe fun to watch. Sometimes it's cool to watch, and there is some drama, etc. So what we have to do, and we haven't found the formula, but is how can, and it's what I said before, is how can we create content that's going to be appealing for people that either watch poker or don't watch poker, and it's going to take a couple of years to make that right, if we ever manage to make it right.
Superb. And last question before I let you go is, the Indian poker sites currently running do not have a ranking system, do not have anything as for its ranking like the GPI or the Hendon mob. Would that be something that you would want to venture into?
So we actually have a GPI ranking. Let me send you the link up here. Why I cannot put an address? It doesn't let me remove any address. Okay, it doesn't let me adding that. But maybe you can if I give you.
But does it take into account what my scores on an Indian site? Like if I win.
Because GPI does only live poker.
We don't do live poker. Okay.
We don't do online. We don't do online for a simple reason. Actually, in India we could, but we don't do online because when you register on ADA 52 and you also have an account on PokerStars, I don't know that Richard 123 and Richard XYZ are the same person. I cannot know that, and because of that, I cannot create a ranking that makes sense because it will not be accurate because the information is not accurate. While in live poker, when you go to Goa, to Macau, to Las Vegas, to Paris, wherever, I have your full name. I always know it's you, and that's it. That's why for non-GPI never done any online ranking, is because we don't have the right. We don't want to do something that is not accurate. In India, it's a bit different because in India, we could partner with all the sites and say let's agree to share this information, etc. I think it's too early. We're gonna have GPI India. We're gonna push more GPI India. We're gonna work with a sports company or media company to promote that a little bit more. That's the way we're gonna start for now.
That's awesome. So we could really use a ranking system. I mean, for the online games at least, that would really help us, and we hope to get that in the future. Obviously, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving me your valuable time. It was super fun, and we wish you the best of luck, and we're super excited for the GPL and to see what the GPL has in store for us and for India. So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Richard, and I hope to have the poker community to support and embrace what we do, and don't have too many expectations because it's going to take time to take off. So I just want people to realize that it's a lot of work, but that's why as well we need a lot of support.
That's great. I mean, I'm sure you're going to do this right. But best of luck anyway. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being active in the chat. We're going to do more podcasts. I'm going to keep you posted on them. And for now, it's goodbye. Good luck at the tables. See you. Good night.